Welcome to Grow Your Wealth, the podcast where scaling a successful brand and your wellness go hand in hand. I'm Rena Goodwin, founder and CEO of FACTEUR PR, a top beauty, health, and wellness PR studio, and I'm here to help you work smarter, not harder. Each week, we'll talk branding, marketing, and business growth alongside real, practical insights from trailblazers who are building businesses without the burnout. If you're ready to grow your brand, protect your energy, and design a life you love, you are in the right place. Let's grow. Hello. Welcome back to Grow Your Wealth. Guess what, you guys? I did something recently. I took my own advice and it's been working really well. And I want to talk to you about that today because if you're growing a business or even thinking about evolving one, starting one, this might actually be the exact conversation you need to hear right now. I certainly wish I had heard this from someone else just a few months ago. So I know I talk a lot on this show. Period. And with my clients about category creation, about positioning specifically within a category or creating your own category. And not just about being good at what you do, but by being clear about what you do and who it's for. Because positioning is what ultimately decides whether people instantly get it or whether you spend half your time explaining yourself, particularly in a sales process. Positioning also is what sets you apart and above your competitors in a crowded market. It's what really elevates your business from a service to a solution provider. And it's what allows you to lead the conversation in your market instead of just competing inside of it. So strong positioning, I always share with my clients, it shortens sales cycles, it attracts better fit clients, and it builds trust so much faster. I have been saying this since day one in my business, but I don't always take my own advice, to be honest, or I think I'm taking my advice, but I'm not really taking it over the finish line. And what I've also noticed here is that in today's world, particularly in this age of AI, as we discuss here often here on Grow Your Wealth, it's really how you get discovered by the right people, not just more people. So we're really living in this exciting time period where we're working with technology in a way that hasn't really been done before. And the part that we also, within the context of this conversation, don't quite talk about often enough is that positioning is not just external. It's not just a brand, right? It clarifies also how you operate. It clarifies what you say yes to. It clarifies what you say no to. And it's how confidently you show up as the expert. And this goes for service-based businesses as well as for product-based businesses. So in 2025, my public relations agency, FACTEUR PR, we updated our website to reflect this new, or I will say enhanced positioning for our business. And this was not just about tweaking our messaging. We truly, in two different phases, truly repositioned the entire company. So we moved from saying we offer public relations services, which gets lost in the fold of like every other PR agency out there, to clearly owning something that we created that nobody else has. And that is called our path to prominence. You've likely heard me talk about path to prominence here on the show before. Path to prominence is our proprietary framework for getting brands recognized for their reputation that ultimately can be leveraged to earn revenue for their businesses with more ease. So that was kind of shift number one, is that what we offer is not just PR services. What we offer is our path to prominence. And in addition to that, so it wasn't just about what we do, but who we do it for shifted as well too. So we moved from serving beauty, home, and wellness to focusing exclusively and deeply on women's health, wellness, and aesthetics. So helping women from the inside out. Basically, that could be products or that could be services. And not only did we make these shifts in Factor PR, which I'm going to go into more detail here in just a moment, but in Realfluence too, right? And this is important because I want us to see the pattern. And I think the pattern is more obvious in something like Realfluence. And if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I might be open to a shift, consider this one too, because Realfluence prior to 2025, Realfluence was actually a separate entity from a program that we currently have called the DIY PR project. So DIY PR has been around since, like 2019, I believe. And so this was a 5-part masterclass on how to secure press coverage for your business. And all of this made sense on paper, right? Realfluence was for partnerships between beauty brands and beauty experts. DIY PR is getting press coverage for your business. Okay. But what we realized pretty quickly is that when it comes to DIY PR specifically, yes, people wanted press coverage, but they weren't buying press coverage. They were buying a path to getting press coverage that they would have to secure on their own. But that's not what they really wanted. And that's what I realized with Factor as well, too. People don't typically just like wake up one day and say, I want PR. It's what's on the other side of that PR is what businesses want. They want recognition. They want revenue, right? Which is where the idea for Path to Prominence came along, right? We were able to kind of structure our offer in such a way that it wasn't just about, I get PR. It's about, I want to grow my business and I've got a proven framework to be able to do that. So we actually shifted to Path to Prominence at Factor before I made the shift with Realfluence. And what I learned from the shift with Factor is that, as you hear so many people say, and it's so true, you guys, sell the transformation. Okay. Another way of thinking about this is that, going to Hawaii has been on my family's mind for about a year now. Okay. We want to book a trip to Hawaii because Hawaii is incredible. It's not that the flight there isn't important. I'm like very picky about where I sit and all of those things, but I'm not looking forward to the flight. I just want to get there, right? And if you think about it, with so many products, services, etc., there's usually that time period that you're like in it that is necessary to get the result that you want. But if you're selling the voyage and not really leading with the destination, the sell can become a little bit harder. So what I noticed with DIY PR is I was selling the voyage. I was selling, here's how you get press coverage. What I wasn't selling was what people wanted. They want confidence. They want credibility. They want a faster, smarter path for their businesses to stand out, to be able to scale up. They want to be influential. And so what I realized is that we already had something really special with Realfluence. Now that was the partnerships part of the PR equation. So what we ended up doing is putting the DIY PR masterclass inside of Realfluence and then just packaging Realfluence, right? That is the destination, is that if you are a beauty, health, or wellness provider or brand and you join Realfluence, the reason why you join Realfluence is you want to build real influence for your business. You want to be making an impact for your customers, for your community, for your patients, etc. Very, very similar to what we do at Factor PR, except Factor PR is done for you, whereas Realfluence is done with you. So what I'm suggesting here is the shift is getting away from the output and towards the outcome. Okay. So not do it yourself PR, but we're building real influence, not getting press coverage, but shifting your reputation to be nationally recognized so that you can command a higher revenue for your business, right? So you can grow your brand. And once we even just made these simple shifts in our language, everything clicked and our approach totally has changed. And so when I mentioned earlier that this isn't just about framing a brand so that you're attracting a type of client, the way we do business now has changed. And the biggest change that has happened for our business is that we have simplified, which is amazing, right? Because simple is a lot easier to scale. So I want to take you back in time here just for a moment. I'm very, very excited because this year is Factor PR's 10-year anniversary, almost a decade, which is crazy. So we've been around a long time compared to a lot of other businesses, right? I'm very, very proud of that. And, for years, our positioning at Factor was pretty broad because it could be. Honestly, we worked with amazing, amazing brands, local, national, across beauty, home, food, restaurants, wellness, lifestyle, bridal even. I mean, and we were pretty good at it. We were good. The work was strong. Our clients were happy. But, over time, I personally noted that some, kind of subtle shifts were changing, and we were actually getting the most, or I should say the best results in a key category of ours, which is beauty, health, and wellness. So our other very popular category historically has been home and design. But over the last few years, this category started to shrink. And this is not because we were not good at it. We were very good at it. In fact, I would say some of our strongest and most plentiful results for our clients were specifically for clients like interior designers. Did we kill it? We were awesome at it. And it's crazy to say past tense because this is something that I have just held on to for so long. Like I could hear the disconnect, right? Like every time we would, run content, whether it's organic or paid or what have you, it was like I'd have to talk to two different audiences. So like, even though, I sometimes joke, like we can do PR for a door. Like PR is, it's a discipline that's like very, very similar across the board. But when you have a specialty, it's really helpful for successful public relations engagement because if you're technically specialized, you likely have very key relationships, particularly with people like journalists and partners and industry folks in that discipline. So for us, our key relationships have mainly been in, again, beauty, health, and wellness and interior design. So anytime we were running content, it was like, I got to do content for this category and I got to do content for this category. And, there's a little bit of overlap. You could say like, I've tried to sort of like narrate this in a way, like if you're making people's lives better, you're the brand for us, right? There's so many different ways we could have woven it. But to be honest with you, it was a little bit complicated because a lot of the writers that write about beauty, health, and wellness, they don't write about interior design. So it also, sort of made things complex when it came to operations. But that being said, we were still really good at it, even operationally speaking. The shift where what really ended up happening was that interior designers for us, while a great clients, it was harder to get a hold of our clients for things like media interviews. We also noticed that for a lot of design clients, their budgets were typically a little bit smaller. And when I was having sales conversations, they were just taking forever. It was like I had to explain a lot more. Our proposals were overly customized over and over again. It was almost like, wow, gosh, we've got to work a lot harder to attract these clients, secure these clients, and then even get results for these clients that, some of this was based kind of out of our own control. So it just kind of felt like we were constantly translating what we did instead of being instantly understood. Okay. And I don't want to be presumptuous and immediately always think like someone coming in for a sales call is just, they're going to be our biggest fans and we're not going to have to sway or convince or anything like that. No. Of course, we're going to have to explain things. But that being said, that was the first sign I would say is that it wasn't that necessarily anything was broken, but that something had outgrown its container. That was one of the first realizations that came up for me that I think I need to niche down my business. The other thing is that our market is changing very fast, as we've often talking about. AI has been changing significantly how people search, how people vet agencies like mine, how people hire new, employees, contractors, and so forth, and how people ultimately make decisions. And what I noticed is that these leads are coming in through AI driven discovery, and these leads have been different. One of the first episodes, this was now almost a year ago here at Factor PR, that I recorded. This shift has been happening now for well over a year, is that we are not just getting leads from AI, we are getting pretty darn qualified leads from AI. So our new clients, our inbounds, they're not just asking like, okay, like, what do you do? They're coming like buttoned up, ready to roll, right? They're saying you're exactly who I am looking for. But my friends, that kind of clarity for your ideal customer or your ideal client, that does not happen as seamlessly if your position is vague. That happens when your expertise, when your lanes, when your transformations are obvious. So I made a decision across the board. Instead of being one of the great PR agencies for all of these different categories, we shifted to become a category of one for a very specific audience: women's health, wellness, and aesthetics.
Hi, friends. I want to tell you about our new and improved authority accelerator from Factor PR called RealFluence. RealFluence is the only membership that helps beauty and wellness founders grow their reputation and authority to attract new customers without endless discounting, advertising, or going viral. Inside, you'll learn how to get recognized for your product or your expertise, partner with other founders, and become the name people trust and talk about, all with the guidance and community to support you every step of the way. Remember, you can't buy authority. You have to earn it. And RealFluence is here to help. Visit therealfluence.com to get started.
So our ideal clients include female founded private practices, not female founded private practices, in the medical community, specifically if your target audience is women, as well as brands that are intersecting at the place of medicine, aesthetics, healing, and so forth. So instead of selling PR services, which, listen, I know, frankly means something different to everyone, we named the outcome Path to Prominence. It is a clear journey where you start with enhancing your reputation, elevating your recognition, and earning revenue. This is easy for people to follow. The same way RealFluence stopped selling DIY PR, we started owning what people wanted, which is real influence. So the thing about niching down that doesn't get talked about often enough is not about necessarily doing less. It's about less variables. When your niche is clear, when your marketing sharpens, your messaging tightens, your sales cycle shortens, your confidence increases, and your audience feels that. They know that. They know what you are known for, right? And so almost immediately after this, a few things that happened. First, our leads went up. Inbound leads went up. Second, sales conversations are honestly becoming easier. I've got a script now, I'll tell you what, and I follow the script. I've pretty much memorized it, but because I know who I am talking to, it's not, oh gosh, am I talking to a designer today? Or am I talking to a doctor today? Am I talking to a CPG brand? Like, I've niched it down so much that like, I don't have 100 different scripts on things I'm going to say and how many objections I'm going to have to clarify and things like that. It's like, I know pretty confidently what we're going to talk about and ultimately what my prospective client needs to hear from me to feel confident in our ability to get them the results that they're looking for. Furthermore, people are also coming in a little bit more pre-educated and pre-aligned. That's also one of the beautiful things about content and even AI discovery. I have also found, and as I just shared a second ago, that AI has really become a top source for inbound discovery. So this is incredible. If you use a website provider we use at Factor PR, Squarespace, you can actually type in various search questions and things like that that you want to track for your business when it comes to AI discovery. And right now, of the 12 prompts that I'm tracking for Factor PR, we are ranking in the recommendations from AI in about 8 out of 12, which ain't too bad, right? But it's good. We're working towards getting the 12 out of 12 too. So you can adjust those as well. But those are based on what our ideal customer or client is ultimately looking for and how they're able to reach us. And we're replicating this for our clients as well too. So you have to remember, right? AI, it doesn't reward generic. It really rewards clarity, rewards patterns in your positioning. It rewards consistency. And when your positioning is ultra specific, AI is going to understand where to place you. Your customers are going to know where to find you too. And then just beyond the metrics of it all, I think one of the biggest changes that we've seen since repositioning Factor PR, especially, is that my team knows exactly who we're here for. And that is so, so huge. I mentioned simple scales, and the way that you're able to scale is with your team. So our frameworks not only got stronger, but our team is a lot better aligned now too. So we are no longer stretching ourselves across categories, and especially categories that maybe were, a little bit off to the side, right? We're not trying to be everything to everyone. We are becoming known for something. And that is what I think is the real power of niching down. For so long, I dragged my feet on this because I thought it was going to lock out certain opportunities for us, and maybe even make us seem like smaller. But good positioning and niching down doesn't make you smaller. It makes you sharper. And if you're listening and you're thinking, well, how do I know I need to reposition, right? And I totally get that. If things are going great for your business, maybe you don't need to reposition at all. I repositioned because I was at a point where things weren't going so great. It's not that they were going bad, but they could be better. And, after several years in this business, you've got to kind of outgrow yourself to get to that next level. And what I realized is that in order to grow up in my business, I had to subtract some things, right? Because again, simple scales a lot easier and a lot more profitable as well too. So if you're kind of resonating with what I'm saying here today, I want to offer you just a few thought starters that might be helpful for you if you are considering or open to a positioning shift in your business, we'll call it. Okay. So first, if you're constantly explaining what you do instead of being instantly understood by the people you are communicating with, I think that's a signal. If your sales process feels like heavier than it should, you're just doing a lot of countering objections and a lot of what feels like selling instead of serving, I think that's also a signal. And if you're attracting customers and clients that like you but aren't quite the right fit, they're not saying yes, that is a signal. And I think one of the biggest things as well is if your business has evolved, but your messaging especially hasn't caught up, that's a big one too. I just want to be very clear that repositioning does not mean that you failed. Doing less in your business does not mean that you failed. What I have learned is that it means I'm growing up. And for me, this isn't about chasing trends. It's about aligning the business that I have with what we're already doing best and letting the market see it more clearly. So Path to Prominence really gave language to our value. We help you grow demand in your business with your authority. Realfluence gave language to building influence to that more DIY community. And together they ultimately reflect the same belief, is that people don't want more noise. They really want clarity right now. There is so much noise. Like information, especially with AI, is cheaper than ever. People want clarity. They want directions. They want outcomes. They want someone to trust. So if you are in a season where things are working, but they just don't feel like they're flowing, or your success is just feeling heavier than it should, or you're wondering if refinement and not necessarily expansion is the next move, it might be time to evolve. Not again into something completely brand new, but into something that is just truer for you, truer for your team, for your clients, and for your business. And so we're going to continue unpacking this here on Grow Your Wealth. And in the meantime, just want to remind you to check out the authority toolkit that I've prepared for you. The link is below in the show notes, and this can help get you started on some of this clarity exploration right now and experimenting with what your own kind of category creation could look like. So the link is below in the show notes, and I'm excited to revisit this conversation in a future episode with you. In the meantime, I have just been so excited and so elated about these own evolutions in my own businesses, because not only has it made things a lot simpler and it's made business better, it's made me feel lighter. And that is something I know we talk a lot about here on the podcast, is how to scale without sacrificing your health, how to work smarter, not harder. And I think this is one of the best strategies that I have personally come across, not just in my business, but with my clients as well too. So we'll talk more about that here on the Grow Your Wealth podcast. If this episode resonated with you, please feel free to leave a review. It really helps our podcast get discovered. Share it with a friend. And as always, I'm rooting for you. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode deposited some useful advice and insights to help you grow your wealth. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future conversations. You can find more resources, episode details, and updates at growyourwealthpodcast.com. And let's keep the conversation going on Instagram. Follow me at Grow Your Wealth Podcast. I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or takeaway from today's show. Until next time, remember, burnout is optional. Take care, and I'll see you next week.